So that kind of sucks. Now we're good to go. How about now? Good. There we go. Whiskey, scotch, and bourbon. It's one of the reasons I don't like to start early because of the tech support. I don't like this to be on the replay, but hey, we're tech support. How's everyone's weekend, man? How's everyone's President's Day? Everybody have a good President's Day?
Visit GraceCraze.com. Celebrate everything. Call 702-605-6333. Grace Craze Jewelry.
Australia's biggest
We're going to make sure we're streaming correctly. We are not on Twitter, and we're supposed to F and be on Twitter. And we're not on Twitter. They said we are experiencing a problem on Twitter. How about that? All right. We'll put out the YouTube stream. Let's get out our YouTube stream.
Radio, Las Vegas. It's the JT the Brick Show. This is the Silver and Black. This is the Raiders. This is a historic franchise. This is no ordinary job. Your Silver and Black home to sound off for over 25 years.
I don't care if I offend somebody. If it isn't right, I'm going to stop practice. We're going to do it the right way.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
All right, let's get rolling. We are back, man. We're rolling today. Let me get the tweet out. Let me get the YouTube flying. Hope everybody's doing great today. JT live back in the studio after being off for President's Day. I work harder than most presidents. A lot of presidents take days off. I normally don't. So we're going to have some time off coming here sooner than later. I hope you're able to do it too, because we're going to have one of the busiest, all-time busiest Raiders off season as we open up the show. So do me a favor, go to our YouTube channel and watch the show. Watch the show. You can see me in my Raider vest today, which is sharp. You just got to go to YouTube. I showed one of our sales reps today who had no idea. And I said, look, go to YouTube and just put on JT the Brick and hit subscribe. It took a matter of seconds to subscribe and watch the show. And to all of our Facebook friends, our Meta friends, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, we stream live on Facebook as we're ready to roll today. So we had the All-Star game. We had the Daytona 500. Last weekend was a pretty good weekend in sports, even though it was our first Sunday without NFL football, a week out of the Super Bowl. And a lot of the talk has been about the Raiders. So that's good for us. But the reason why all the talk is about the Raiders is because the Raiders had such a bad year last year that they were rewarded with a new coach who everybody seems to like, and also rewarded with the number 1 pick overall, which everybody tends to believe, like I do, that it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. And that seems to be something that has the entire Raider Nation excited and ready to go. So with all of that, the point that I'm trying to make, and I've been making here now for weeks, is that everybody should be in a pretty good mood. Everybody should be in a pretty good mood overall that the Raiders have added Andrew Janocko, who's one of his great counterparts. Clint Kubiak's got the guy that he wanted at OC. Robbie Leonard is a friend of the show. I want to get into that. I know Clay said he did a lot of Rob Leonard this morning on the morning tailgate. Joe DeCamillis is the special teams coordinator. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings overall. Mike McCoy is, I don't like to use the term adult in the room because I think Clint Kubiak's a pretty big adult in the room. But Clint Kubiak has Mike McCoy, who goes all the way back to Long Beach State in the LBC and is highly respected around the league. Matt Robinson is there, and there's some Joe Woods. I was excited to see that and some of the coaches that are there. Also, the big one that is brewing here is that everybody seems to be excited that Rick Dennison is going to be the run game coordinator, and he'll have an effect on the offensive line. And that's the focus of the monologue, brought to you by Golden Entertainment. They fuel the monologue 5 to 7, midnight to 2. It's the best happy hour in town. They own the Strat. And as we always say, get ready for the Strat because they are your home for March Madness. We'll do a remote from the Strat to kick off March Madness. And then Golden Entertainment and all the PTs will have you ready for the whole month of March. They're always ready for you, but for March, it'll be good to go in there and watch some March Madness. So where do you stand on the coaches is the show today. Pretty much the show that I have for you today. I'm not this bells and whistle guy. I'm not going crazy. I'm pacing myself. We got a big off season. I'm not going to get in here and get all dramatic like some influencers. air quotes. I like the coaches. I normally like the coaches. I do. When they fire coaches, they all get fired for a reason. They all probably deserve to get fired, unfortunately. The coaches that have been fired, other than John Gruden, which was a witch hunt to go after John Gruden. Other than that, every other coach lost so many games that they lost their job. And now we have a coach here that we have to prove that we're going to be patient with. We're going to let him coach. We're going to get behind him. And we're going to totally get behind him in Raider Nation, because Raider Nation within has been splintered. I talk about that topic more than anybody in Raider history. I like to bring people together. If you think I'm divisive, you don't know me. You don't know me. If you know me, you know I'm not divisive, and I try to bring people together. And we're trying to do this for this coach because everything seems to be exactly what the Raiders need right now. Some people didn't like the older Pete Carroll. Other people didn't like the inexperience of Antonio Pierce. Some people didn't like, I don't know, the body language of Josh McDaniels and his personality. You've all had excuses to like or not like the coach. And I'm not a math major, but I would say over 30% of Raider fans the last 3 or 4 years have been blanking and moaning about the coach, and I'm sick of it. I'm personally sick of it, but it's part of my job. I've had the opportunity to interview the coaches of the Raiders more than anyone who's ever walked planet Earth. No debate. I enjoyed that. I love sitting down with a coach talking X's and O's, not gossip. Not are you going to get fired? Are you going to do this? We just talk about the game. You lost the game. Why'd you lose the game? What happened that you planned that didn't happen? What are you looking forward to with the next opponent? What do you think they do right? What do you got to do to beat them? That's it. It's not brain surgery here. But the last couple of years, I've been interviewing coaches that almost lose every game. They almost lose every game that they coach. So I'm not saying put yourself in my position. I'm in the best position of all. I love the position I'm in. But when you go into the building and you're interviewing a coach who you like and who I presumably think likes me, and all you're sitting there doing is talking to him about losing, it kind of gets old. But your job might get old too. Mine doesn't get old because I love my job and I love talking sports. It's a very easy job if you know how to do it. But if you're talking about a team losing and firing and firing and losing and losing and firing, and you do this for a number of years, you have no idea where the shrapnel is. You're pulling the shrapnel out going, oh, I didn't know I had a piece of shrapnel in my back right shoulder. Well, yeah, because the coach lost 9 in a row. And now we don't want that to happen. We don't want that ever to happen again. And we seem to have the coach. We seem to have the coach that is set up right now to win. He's got everything he's ever dreamed of. His dad is the Super Bowl head coach. You got to assume he's going to be involved on some level. I wouldn't be surprised if he got tape every day and cut-ups of practice. Why wouldn't he? His son's the head coach. I mean, this is a guy who could pick up the phone and call John Elway and say, John, I want to ask you about something. Or he could go and talk to Tom Brady. He can walk upstairs when Brady's in the building. He's got all the resources of Mark Davis and the new ownership. They got a lot of money, and they're giving him more money to get all these coaches. And now they're putting a team together with what seems to be a younger, most of the guys are younger, sharper group of guys who might be connected more with offense. I don't think you've known anybody in your life in Raider history who's complained more about this offense than me. Who? Well, name the person. Who? Who's complained more about the fact that this offense isn't up-tempo? Who's complained more about the offense not getting out of the huddle quickly and running back-to-back plays? But I'm a homer? I don't know. I don't think I'm a homer when I'm on the post-game show and I'm screaming that they don't run a good offense. Now we got a guy who can run an offense blindfolded. Now we got an offensive coordinator who's the head coach, who hired another offensive coordinator and hired a former head coach who's got this new title where he's kind of the third offensive coordinator. Then they're adding a lot of experience up front. I've said this, and I saw this coming. Unlike the Housewives who got this wrong, I told you that they were going to get Kubiak for 5 weeks on the show. That's the guy they wanted. That's the guy they're targeting. I was aware of that. Not enough to go out there and die on the hill because he could have changed his mind. But we all knew that they were going for one guy, Clint Kubiak. That was the guy they wanted. They got him. That's pretty cool. Because if they didn't get him, Albert Breer wrote a really good column on the Monday Morning Quarterback talking about the process. I knew a lot of that too, but I don't have a column called the Monday Morning Quarterback. And I work for the team. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you every little nuance of when the planes take off and when they're meeting, when I was well aware of that. And I thought Albert Breer broke down the process of how new ownership, along with Brady and Spidech, were able to go to Seattle, and they felt relatively comfortable that Kubiak was going to take the job. They felt good about that, and they probably had a pretty good backup plan that they didn't have to use, and they got the guy they wanted. And then a lot of other coaches around the league are leaving their jobs to go work for the Raiders because they like the way the Raiders are set up going forward. Now, maybe you didn't like the way the coaches around the league, if they were asked to be a coach of the Raiders 2-3 years ago, might have said, no way. No way. I'm not going to the Raiders with Josh McDaniels. I'm not going to the Raiders with Antonio Pierce. He's brand new. I get that. There's no one saying that now with Clint Kubiak. Everybody around the league respects Clint Kubiak. Everybody. His tree is amazing. His tree starts with his dad. Remember, he's part of the Gary Kubiak tree, which is deeply connected to John Elway and Mike Shanahan. That's a hell of a tree. And then he's been a part of other trees. Kyle Shanahan, right? He's worked with a lot of good coaches. He told me when I sat down with him first, Leslie Frazier, Mike Zimmer. You know who Mike Zimmer is? Clay, you know how big of a badass Mike Zimmer was to be around?
Yeah, he was no nonsense.
No nonsense. Clint Kubiak started under him, too. He knew his dad. I'm sure his dad was no nonsense at 11 o'clock at night when he worked a 16-hour day and came home for a late leftover dinner, and they worked for Mike Zimmer. So I think Clint Kubiak's worked, Clay, with a lot of really unique coaches, but he's got a cool tree, and I think a lot of these younger coaches are gravitating to that.
I think he's a guy that has surrounded himself with not only people he trusts, but people he knows that can perform and teach at the same time, because there's going to be a lot of teaching that goes on in this construct, and he surrounded guys that can go and spread his message, and it fits their philosophy.
100%. That's Clay Baker, and he said it perfectly, right? So I would assume that everybody's pretty happy about this, right? I think everybody's saying, wow, this is a pretty good coaching staff. It's a good coaching staff. It's new. They're going to work their ass off. They're young. They're excited. They love the players so far. They love the building. But everybody should love the building. If you become the head coach of the Raiders, you got to be pretty excited about the building, where you're living, and what you're doing. So today, if you want to call in and get involved with this at all, again, you don't have to kiss ass to the coach, but you can talk about how the staff is being built out and what you like about it. And they're not done yet. They're not done at all. I mean, people are writing columns about, who else is out there that might want to join the Raiders and do all of that. I tend to have the same philosophy, same similar philosophy that I have with the coaching staff, that I have with the practice squad. It's a little bit different, but here's my philosophy with the practice squad. I don't do the practice squad. I don't. I get to form my own show and build the topics and talk about whatever I want. And then when I work for the Raiders, they tell me what they want me to talk about when I'm in the building, or they give me an idea. But when I do this show, I talk about whatever the hell I want. I don't talk about the practice squad. I don't talk about a lot of coaches who are down on the food chain. The linebacker coach, the tight end coach. They're all very important. They're all really important. But I don't dive into that. I'm diving into the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator. That's what I'm doing, and the special teams coach, because we've been a disaster on special teams, a disaster. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But don't quiz me on who the safeties coach is. I know who it is. I got notes. But I'm here to talk about the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And let me get to Rob Leonard, because this is really important, because this opens up a lot of different topics for all of us to dive into. Throughout my career with the Raiders, I've gotten to know a lot of coaches really well, but not recently. Not recently, because they're all getting fired. And it's a different time. When we were in Oakland, it was a little bit different. When I was in Oakland and there, and I traveled with the team, I was on the team flight for a lot of games. I don't travel as much. And when I'm in the building, you don't see the coaches much. And I don't know a lot of the younger coaches, but I know Rob Leonard, because Rob was a guy that I gravitated to when he got hired, and he gravitated to me at least to get to know me. Patrick Graham got to know me a little bit. If Devontae Adams walked in a room today, never heard of me or never knew who I was, which is fine. Okay, fine. But Rob Leonard, I know a little bit about, and I'm really happy about him getting this job. He is worthy of this job. And I told him as we sat in the meal room last week before the press conference, I said, look, I've been saying on the radio for years, you're going to be a head coach. And he said, thanks. And he knows that I said that to his face. And he knows that I know he's going to be a head coach in this league. And I think Rob Leonard being elevated to a defensive coordinator at this age is really impressive. And I think he is willing to do whatever it takes, work ethic-wise, to be a really good defensive coordinator. Is he going to struggle at times? Sure. Patrick Graham struggled at times. Defensive coordinators at times, when it's real time and the bullets are flying and you're in the middle of a game, you might need to burn a timeout. The coach might not be happy. You burned a timeout. You don't have the right personnel on the field. This is a guy who knows what he's doing, and he's a motivator. He's a practice coach. And what I mean by that is he's the type of coach that comes to practice every day with energy. You need that. You need that throughout your staff. Pete Carroll had it pretty good for 73 going on 74. I thought at times it was a little bit corny, doing the fake wrestling and all that, but that was Coach. And it worked for Coach, and he wanted to do it. And Coach lost his job for a number of reasons. It didn't work out. Chip Kelly, I don't think brought a tremendous amount of energy to practice. He was more stoic and, a master wizard of calling plays. But I didn't know Coach well, but a little bit. He was good to me. I was good to him. I thought Chip Kelly, God, his resume was unbelievable. Josh McDaniel and Chip Kelly's resume, like it or not, they are two of the top 10 offensive play callers in football the last 20 years. They both came through this organization and got washed out, hit by a hurricane. Chip Kelly and Josh McDaniels came to this organization with every qualification you could have as an offensive play callers, and they got washed out of this organization quickly. Just didn't work. Doesn't mean their whole career failed. Josh McDaniels just coached in the Super Bowl. Chip Kelly can get pretty much any offensive job he wants. But this last one didn't work because of the chemistry with the players and Pete Carroll, and more of that will come out. More of that will come out down the road. So I'm excited about this coaching staff, but they got to prove it. They got to go out there and prove that they're going to be really good coaches, and that's their job right now. I can't imagine them being more busy than this coaching staff is right now, because they still got to hire more coaches, and they got to get ready for the combine, and they got to get ready for the draft. So these coaches are going to be working their tail off. Clint Kubiak went up to Seattle for the parade, which was great. Came right back down, and they're working full-time over there at the building. So where do you stand on the coaching staff so far? There's a little bit of experience. There's some veteran coaches. There are some veteran coaches mixed in along the way. Clint Kubiak added some more Seattle coaches, run game coordinator Rick Dennison. Dennison will either become the Raiders O-line coach or run game coordinator. He can do it all. He can do multiple jobs. And that's what they're looking to do now. They're bringing in, I'm fascinated by this topic. I talked to Phil Villapiano the other day. Phil got off the golf course, was tipping a few, and called me, and we talked for an hour, half hour, 45 minutes on the coaches. And Phil usually gets behind the coaches a lot, but he was drilling down on me to ask me about the coaches and the philosophies. And I told him the little that I knew. I don't know a lot about these coaches. I know a little bit about them, but they all come through Kubiak, and they all seem to be, you got a few veteran guys, but most of the guys are below the age of 40, and they're going to be grinders. So that's what I'm excited about to talk about today. Alex Eshelman will join us from ABC 13, one of our insiders, and then we have a draft guest coming up in the second hour of the show that I'm looking forward to talking to, because we're going to be doing a lot of the draft coming up here. We're going to have Josh Edwards on from CBS Sports at the top of the hour. So that's the show. I got a lot of other topics that I've been talking about. I was on radio Sunday, Monday. I'm on tonight on Mad Dog Sports Radio. I'm really upset about Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets. They don't think the Mets need a captain. I almost broke my hand and put it through a glass window when I heard that. Also, I think another big topic, Tyreek Hill's available. Oh, boy. I got to be careful on that one. I'm pretty good at that. Oh, I'm pretty good at waiting to say what I want to say until I get the all clear. You know, Clay, in the military movies, when they come out of the bunker and you hear, all clear, right? All clear. And then they come out of the bunker.
Yeah, it usually comes after fire in the hole.
Yeah, there's fire in the hole or that. I know when to talk about a player or not because there's a chance that player could end up with a Raider uniform.
Hello.
So my real opinions on Tyreek Hill might have to wait. Might have to wait here. But if you've been listening to me for 30 minutes or 30 years, you know what I think of Tyreek Hill. But he's a hell of a player, man. Oh, my God. And a hell of a player, and he's cheaper than he's ever been to get. Cheaper than he's ever been. He's killed the Raiders throughout his career. You like to have guys on your team that kill the other team? Oh, my God. LaDainian Tomlinson, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. Those guys are all going to the Hall of Fame with Raider patches for what they did against the Raiders. So with all of that. And then the last thing I wanted to get into the monologue, the last one I think is really important here is Mendoza. Okay, our off season is going to be dominated by Fernando Mendoza. Right? We were the first to own Mendoza Mondays. Right? Mendoza Mondays. That's us, but we were off on Monday for President's Day. I expect to take calls every day on Mendoza. And when I said earlier today on X, I'll say it again. Mendoza was so epic and great last year. Epic. I mean, what he did last year has never been done before. Statistically, maybe Joe Burrow, but that's it. But LSU was always a great program. Indiana was a doormat. Indiana was arguably the worst program in modern college football history, dating back to Lee Corso. And Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy, the national championship, and played great in the postseason, almost perfect. So I was one of the first people to tell you that everybody should be on the same page with Mendoza. We're all good, right? But there's going to be desperate clickbaiters who want to tear this kid down, and they can't tear him down personally. He's untouchable. I mean, the kid has just got a resume of being an incredible human being. So you look like an idiot if you make it personal with Mendoza. So what they're going to do now, some of the people that are going to want to get clicks and they're going to want to be seen and heard from, is they're going to tell you a couple of things. Number one, that he doesn't have the intangibles, but they're going to sound pretty stupid because you saw that he had all the intangibles. He played great, won the Heisman. Okay, he didn't have the greatest stats of all time, but he was a great team player. So he checks all the boxes. But now you're going to start seeing and hearing that people are going to question him as a fit for the Raiders. They're going to take a shot at your franchise, saying they're dysfunctional. It's not a good place for Mendoza. The Raiders aren't patient enough. This, that, and all that, because they want to be heard. And they have the right to be heard, right? They have the right to be heard. Not everybody has a radio show. Not everybody has a TV show. So people want to be heard and they want to get their name out there. Fine with that. But they're going to get very desperate with Fernando. And the closer we get to the draft, the more and more desperation you're going to see. You know, I'm not talking the guy who's going to say, well, you know, Mendoza's a third-round projection, because those people are just dummies. I mean, they don't even deserve to have a voice. But I don't mind if someone says Mendoza probably, I wouldn't take him in the top 10. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback historically. I'm all right with that. The Raiders have the first pick overall. They need a quarterback. He's the best quarterback by far. The Raiders will take him and pair him with a room of a lot of offensive coaches. I mean, that's something I'd like to see. Clay, I'm not saying that they should be on Hard Knocks, but wouldn't you like to see that room with Janocko coming in, and then Kubiak walks in, and then Mike McCoy's there, and then there's another offensive coach, and then Gary Kubiak walks in. Dad's in. He's in the building. He walks in. There's like 6 guys sitting with Fernando in the quarterback room, all talking and looking at film. I think that's what the Raiders are doing. And then the final guy to walk in, Tom Brady. Yes. All of a sudden, Brady's in the meeting room. You got 7 guys, all offensive junkies, talking to Fernando. That's kind of the upside of this whole deal, right?
Yeah, you've surrounded him now with greatness. You've surrounded him now with guys that love to communicate, and you are now treating him as the prized asset that he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I just want to see the more offensive minds you can put in the room. right? The more guys you can just say, hey, come in the room. The room's open. We got 11 seats there, coach. You're the 9th coach. Come on in. Just sit down and watch the meeting and tell me what you think. I love that topic. I can talk about that all day. So that's the monologue. This is a tough time of year because the callers aren't great this time of year. They're just not. So I have to do my job. I have to talk more, longer, and I just have to pace myself. I'm looking for the best callers in Raider Nation every day. If you come, great. If you don't come, I'm going to do the show anyway. I'm looking for people that have strong opinions that can match my energy. That's it. You don't have to be fluent. You don't have to have the great vocabulary. I have a 4th grade vocabulary. All I want is fans of the Raiders or other sports, other teams. You want to talk about the Olympics today, baseball, to join me on the sports talk journey that I go on every day. Because you're not going to find anybody with more energy and excitement than I do. And the reason I bring this energy in this monologue for the first 25 minutes is to try to set the table to find a handful of people that can match my passion. That's it. So let's see what you got today. 702-365-9200. I woke up at 5 in the morning today. I thought I was in the middle of a hurricane. My wife and I woke up and I said, I'm worried about my backyard brick. Did we have everything tied down in the backyard? And I went outside at 5 in the morning, 5:05 in the morning, and I felt like I was in the scene of The Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland when the tornado comes, and the tornado's going around me, and I'm like, oh my God, then I wake up, Clay, and it's blue skies. This is Vegas. Like you have a bad chunk of weather for like 6 hours, and then it's blue skies, and it's gorgeous.
Winds just whip through here, isn't it? It's just, This is like a dustbin of wind, and you have no control over when it's going to stop. But I was up like you. I'm like, what is that racket? And I'm like, oh, it's still going on. But it seems like when the wind is at its end, that's when it gets the worst, the tailwinds.
Yes. Yeah, and it was crazy. It's going to dump snow from Lee Canyon. Utah's going to get dumped on. So all the skiers out there, I'm one of them. If you're a skier or a snowboarder, go. Call in sick, work, do whatever. Get to the mountains and snow. Get out there and ski. Get out there and have fun, man. Have a Modelo on the slopes. This is when you're going to do it. Blizzard time in Tahoe, Snow Raider says. Snow Raider's saying it's blizzard time up there, man. I love Tahoe. I haven't been there in a couple of years now. That concerns me. Lake Tahoe is closed for a blizzard. Look at that. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about the coaching staff and how you feel about it. Raise your hand and beep your horn if you have a Raider fan in your life that you recently just looked at and said, will you be quiet and stop complaining? Like, what are you complaining about? Like last year sucked. We know. We had Christmas, we had New Year's, we had Valentine's Day. Like, are we all good now? Has everybody kind of got it out of their system? Does everybody have the negativity out of their system so we can have a good time until, I don't know, June or July? We could just sit here and go, wow, man, the Raiders, I'm not into rock bottom, but I've seen some stock market crashes and some real estate pullbacks. The Raiders just went through a stock market crash and a real estate pullback. Now they're supposed to be improving because of these coaches. And I would hope that everyone in Raider Nation is behind Klint Kubiak and thrilled to support him and get behind him here. There's going to be more topics and other things that people are upset about. I get it. Max Crosby, the Max Crosby rumors and what's going to happen there. I get that. We'll cover that. But overall, everybody should be really excited about the future. Here's Jim in the Pacific Northwest. Hello, Jim.
Oh, hey, JT, you're so awesome. Thanks for the monologue. Hope you and your wife had a good Valentine's Day. Here's the thing. Look, I think you're right. I think that Raider Nation needs to get behind this coach and be positive. I've seen it too. I've seen it in a lot of the writing, a lot of the commentary, and then you see it from some of the professionals too. I mean, no offense to Albert Breer, but he said he didn't think that Mendoza was a generational talent. Hey, let me tell you something. He doesn't need to be. He just needs to be a good quarterback that'll work with the system that Coach Kubiak's going to provide, and he will provide it. He is amazing. I mean, I was just so thrilled to see what Seattle was doing just close by here where I live. And I mean, he's done it for years. He worked with Derek Carr. He's been in the Denver organization. His father was very good. So these are all things to be positive about. We kept the defensive line coach and made him the defensive coordinator. How fantastic. Okay, but he's bringing in some new guys. Hey, I think it's really, really important to be positive. It can't get any worse, Raider Nation. We need to start doing something better, and we're doing it. We're doing it, JT. So those are my comments.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we're trying to do it. Everybody's trying to do it here. We don't know. We can't guarantee it's going to be perfect. Is it going to be bumpy or not? Wouldn't it be great if Clint Kubiak starts off the season and the Raiders get on a roll because the offense is clicking? We're going to have all off season to talk about that. OTAs, training camp, the preseason. We're working a calendar right now. This is a calendar that we're doing. And we're in the calendar now in February, where I kind of pivot to March Madness. I pivot to a little bit of baseball, NBA. I love the NBA. I know a lot of people don't, but I'm talking NBA when we get a chance with some guests. And we're going to sit here and be excited to talk to you. Well, one guy called in today. I feel like I've been off for a couple days, and we were just off for President's Day. 702-365-9200. We're live on YouTube, where we can talk during the breaks when we come back on YouTube at JT the Brick. A lot more sound coming in on what the rest of the NFL thinks about the Raiders and their coaching hiring next.
Previously on Unnecessary.
Gary Kubiak.
That was the dirty 30 minutes, the dirty 30. Let me grab my coffee here.
How good a teacher are you in the room? How well prepared are you when those players walk in and you're trying to install an offense?
All right. No way but up now.
So be your
Curry or Joe. Curry to the Lakers. What are you talking about, Curry to the Lakers?
Is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders and Allegiant Stadium.
Are there any breaking news?
Bet on Black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly. This is JT for the Black Hole, home of football's most notorious fans. If you're a diehard Raider fan, this is your home. Become a member today and receive 20% off online purchases, hotel discounts for home and away games, access to members-only merchandise, and much more. All memberships are now lifetime memberships. Once a member, always a member. If you bleed silver and black.
Yeah, I don't like Tyreek Hill as a human being. I was trying to figure out, and I'm not going to give away a prize, but can someone accurately tell me how many kids Tyreek Hill has and how many baby mamas? I think you're a terrible person if you have like 7 kids with 4 different women. I think that is an awful trait. I have no problem saying it. And I'm all from kids. You can have 10 kids, 11 kids. Phillip Rivers does with his one wife. Tyreek Hill is a bad guy. He's always been a bad guy. But he's a hell of a football player. Hell of a football player.
Credit situation. Finley Toyota, driven to excellence. At the Valley Auto Mall in Henson or online at
Ian Rappaport. What is he saying? Okay.
If it's physically or emotionally changed forever.
Get some Ian Rappaport sound.
Drunk. Or some company put their profit.
Franchise tag window opens today.
A compassionate lawyer to take on the stress of dealing with the insurance companies and big corporations so you can focus on your health and well-being. I'm Justin Watkins with Battleborn Injury Lawyers. We focus on excellent results and unparalleled customer service. Outsource your stress to us. Call me today.
That shooting at that Pawtucket, Rhode Island ice rink was just brutal. I don't know. Josh Jacobs is a good guy. He hasn't been a lowlife like Tyreek Hill. So I don't know how many baby mamas Josh Jacobs has. I don't know. But if you got a lot of baby mamas and a lot of young babies, that isn't good. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about freaking being politically correct on that one. Okay, you could be the mother of the year and the father of the year. If you got 3 to 4 different husbands or baby mamas or baby daddies and your family's destroyed and you don't see your kids like Tyreek Hill, no, he's not a good guy.
Okay, let's spend the
I don't think the Raiders are franchising anybody, right, Clay?
Yeah. 6 open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 to 6. And like they say, it's fantastic.
And like they say, we've got it.
Alex here.
Ready to hit the road in a new ride? One Nevada credit union believes your life should be rewarded.
that wade into these waters just as full with obviously opposition, because
really
Boomer
can
does not
drive
have
now and
these
pay
takes
later.
when the U.S.
At One Nevada, we offer freedom from payment stress and more money in your pocket, so you spend less time worrying about financing and more time enjoying the drive.
Yeah, I got to think Tyreek returns to Kansas City too. I got to think about. I got to think that's the best fit for him. You have Alex Eshelman's number.
It's official. Stefanos is now open on Lake Mead in Buffalo. Come enjoy our beautiful dining room designed for family meals, quick lunches, and everything in between. Or swing by for fast, easy takeout with all your favorites. Gyros, bowls, shawarmas, kebabs, and our famous baklava. Our salad dressings and marinades are made with no seed oils. And our must-try fries are cooked in 100% avocado oil. The new Stefanos in Summerlin is now open. Come taste what everyone's talking about. Stefanos, real food, real fast, real healthy.
Scammers are getting more convincing every day. Some scams are using AI to clone voices, create realistic profile photos, and even fake video calls. They may sound like a loved one, friend, or authority figure. Scammers often create a sense of panic by claiming there is a crisis or an emergency and pressure you with deadlines. Even ask you to keep the request secret. This is a red flag. If you receive a call, text, or email asking for money, pause, hang up, and call the person back using a phone number you know. Consider creating a family verification frame to confirm identity.
Yes, Massapequa, my hometown.
Transfer. Legitimate organizations will not demand payment this way.
My hometown is Massapequa.
For more information,
Are we on X? I still don't think we're on X.
the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Nevada Office of Emergency Management, Homeland Security, and your local emergency manager's office, in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
One moment can turn life upside down. Your comeback starts with the right team by your side. At DeCastro Verde Law, we spent decades helping injured Nevadans take back their lives. We never back down. We never give up. We're the DeCastro Verde Brothers, and we have your back. Together, we win.
BrothersWin.com.
Yeah, I think the Raiders need a number one wide receiver too.
BrothersWin.com.
The Las Vegas Aviators will look to defend their Pacific Coast League title as they head into another campaign. The Aviators will start off the season on Friday, March 27th, as they open up with a 9-game homestand. The first 3 against the Salt Lake Beans. And then they'll welcome the Oklahoma City Comets in for 6 games. So oil those gloves up and get ready for another exciting season of Aviators baseball right here on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
This is 3rd down and 6. Gino in an empty set. Texans bring 5. He fires near sideline. Hits at the stride at the 30. Down the sideline 15. Broken tackle. Touchdown. Juice. Goodbye. Into the end zone. 60 yards. Touchdown Raiders. Had an extra point away from taking the lead here in Houston.
That was a good game against Houston. A game, the Raiders lost, but they were very competitive. There's even talk out of Houston now that C.J. Stroud could be on the trade block. How about that? There is some rumblings to that. JT, back with you. Hope you had a good President's Day holiday. We were off. We got a big week of shows lined up. We're waiting on Alex Eshelman to join us. We'll take your calls at 702-365-9200. Last Tuesday, we were live from the Clint Kubiak press conference. We spoke to the coach. We talked to Rich Gannon. We talked to Eric Allen, Amber Theo Harris. We had the legends on, right? It was really good show. And that was just a week ago. And now the Raiders have been stealth. They're underground. They're trying to figure out the end of their coaching staff hires. And then they're getting wheels up. Everybody's on their way to the Combine in Indianapolis to see what's going to happen there. 702-365-9200. If you want to get in, Taylor from Summerlin, the mean streets of Summerlin, joins us. Hello, Taylor.
Hey, JT, what's going on? I met you at an Aviators game once with your buddy Dale Eel.
Oh, Dale's one of the best. Dale's one of the most powerful names in town. You tell Dale I said hello. He's a great guy.
I will. No, just to comment on the, Clint Kubiak hire. I think, look, the Pete Carroll, Geno Smith experiment didn't go as expected, but when you look at Kubiak of what he's done growing up in the league, really, and being at the forefront offensively, I think, Raider fans should be excited about a young coach. And if we look across the league of, the Kevin O'Connell, the, Sean McVay, they're all young guys. So I'm excited to see what Clint does with the team. And to your point of Mendoza, I mean,
Well, you gotta be comfortable.
They don't draft him, right?
Yeah, they're going to draft him, and I would assume they're going to draft him, and they got to play the game accordingly. But it's not just Kubiak; it's the amount of coaches he has that are going to be surrounding Mendoza to help him quickly, because he's got to play, right? You're not drafting him number one to sit out the first 7 or 8 games. He's got to play, and hopefully this system is so unique and so new. I mean, as a Raider fan, how excited are you to see a new offense finally after what we've seen for 4 or 5 years around here?
No, to your point, and I think it's kind of going to reinvigorate the fan base. It's going to be a fun team to watch, and I think that's what, as Raider fans, we all want, right? We all want to have some fun, exciting, team, and that's really young. So, I think the Crosby thing will get figured out, but at the end of the day, I think I'm really excited about the hire, and I'm really excited about the draft pick.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. Thanks a lot for checking in. That opens up a line for you anywhere in Raider Nation. That call came from Vegas. We're on everywhere on the Raiders mobile app, live on YouTube and Raider Nation Radio. Speaking of Max Crosby, wanted to remind everybody there's a few more tables left to the Commitment to Excellence Award dinner. That's a week from this Friday, February 27th at the Lakeshore Event Center. General admission's $195. It's well worth it. They call it Raider Prom. So it's basically Raider Prom. You get dressed up, you go out, you have some beverages, they got a DJ, you dance. I like to have a cigar on the patio. Max Crosby will be the recipient of the Commitment to Excellence Awards. Max will be there. There'll be some coaches. Normally are there some alumni. It was a really big event for Morris Bradshaw, who we lost. A really big event for Morris. And I've emceed it close to 20 times. I get a chance to MC it again, so I'm very excited to be there. So we have a few tables left. Hit me up on Twitter if you want the information. It's on my Facebook at JT the Brick. Come on, everybody. There's a few tables left. It's for Max Crosby. Air quotes, you get what I'm talking about? It's a week from Friday. If you're in Vegas, if you're not in Vegas yet, maybe you want to come out here for a road trip for this great event. Out to Isaac from Fresno. Great to hear from Fresno. What's going on, Isaac?
Hey, how you doing, JT? Yeah, we missed Mendoza Monday, but hey, happy President's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so we got a lot of things going on with the Raiders. I think we got the NFL scouting combine next week. Right. We got Mendoza interviewing. I think he won the Davey O'Brien Award just recently here. We got all this talk. And I think the Max Crosby talk is just because the NFL analysts don't have anything else to talk about. So Max is dominating the headlines there. We got free agency. We're going to be major players in that. I don't think we should make big splash plays or fast splash signings. We need 7 to 8 guys, kind of similar how to the Patriots did it. We got the first pick in the draft. That's going to be huge. So the Raiders are dominating the offseason topics as far as that's concerned. I love the move that Kubiak's making with this new run game coordinator, even that guy Smith to coach the D-line, to help a Robbie Leonard. I think that's going very well. And, one of the things I want to talk about here, I think we have a lot of hot Raider fans. I mean, I'm having to explain these things to people, and it's getting upsetting. But we need a win. I think if we win, that'll take care of that. But love the coaching move. This whole Tyreek Hill, I don't want that guy. I don't want to put him with we assume a young Mendoza. I don't think we need any of those type of receivers. My question to you, and I would ask you something that you can answer this time. I think I misphrased my question last time, but my feeling with Mendoza, and I think Tom Brady is that way. If we do bring him in, he doesn't really like to start quarterback. And I think if we do draft him, that's going to be a huge topic. It'll be up to Kubiak. But, I would probably sit him 6 to 8 weeks, let him get to know the offense, really his protection check, because I think that's where he needs to get better, just judging from the national championship game. But what are your thoughts on, starting Mendoza?
I would play him. I would play him week 1 if you take him number 1. I would play him week 1. Let him come out there. Appreciate you checking in. Thank you for the question and the call. I would play him because you play the first pick overall. You do. So you don't want to make an example out of that. Now, there's a scenario in place. I like Kirk Cousins a lot. I think Kirk Cousins is a hell of a player. Okay, he's going to have his up and downs. He's at the end of his career. Okay, he's not. He's a good quarterback, very good. Made a lot of money. Now, if you had a guy like Kirk Cousins come in and Kirk Cousins started, Kirk Cousins doesn't want to sit. He'd want to play. And Kirk Cousins can get you off maybe to a good start, and then you bring Mendoza in, like you're saying. But I don't think that's the case. When you take a number 1 pick overall, you play him. Cam Ward last year. Go through the list. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. You play them. You play them. And you hope they do okay. You hope you can protect them. And I think that's the key now is building this offensive line and re-looking at what they have to do up front with the offensive line. I think that's probably what the coaches are meeting about is they're trying to hire the last remaining coaches out there. When you look at the last remaining coaches out there that they're trying to bring in, if they're on the offensive side, they better know what the hell they're doing with the offensive line and how they're going to go out and build an offensive line. And I've said, I think you got to go out and hire, you got to go buy 2 offensive linemen in free agency. Because as Lincoln Kennedy says to me, we're done developing guys. I confused a couple of people on Twitter. As I said, I think the Raiders should trade back into the first round, not trade back. I thought I made it pretty clear in the tweet that I put out that the Raiders should trade back. I tweeted out today, packaging picks to move back into the first round would be ideal. I'm not into your 6th or 7th round pick. I'm not. If they're good and they make the team and they're really good, great. We'll celebrate them. I would rather take some picks and trade to go back into the first round and get a starting offensive lineman if you're confident they could start, not be developed. No, not develop an offensive lineman. They get their heads ripped off their first couple of years. They can't handle Myles Garrett. They can't. So I like to get guys who can handle Myles Garrett in free agency because they've played Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. I like those guys. That's what I think you need to do. All right, we're waiting on Alex Eshelman. She probably ran into an assignment. I'm sure she'll get back to us. And at the top of the hour, we have a deep draft dive conversation coming up. And everything on the draft will start off with Fernando Mendoza as we begin. We're brought to you by our great friends at the M Resort, Spawn Casino. I'm going to be out there later on this week. I got a buddy coming into town from L.A., and he likes to pull into the M. He doesn't like to drive on the strip. He likes to get to the M, loves it. Feels like it is a 5-star experience. And then when he's ready to go back to L.A., he shoots out of the M and has the time of his life. No Alex. No Alex Eshelman.
The Clint Kubiak tree could be quite large and ranging across the NFL for years to come.
All right, Dino's here. We'll get you in.
And turn this team back into what they once were. The folks on the Clint Kubiak collaborative team are all going to be coordinators and head coaches somewhere else. So we can all wish that comes true and hope that the Raiders turn into what the Rams have been for the past.
The morning tailgate is at 7 a.m.
Well, they're going to get protection, Brady's learner permit. Everybody who doesn't believe that the Raiders are going to get a new offensive line, what are you talking about? Everybody knows they can't compete without an offensive line. Is there anybody stupid enough that thinks the Raiders aren't going to get an offensive line? I mean, really? Anybody think that the Raiders are just going to fall asleep and not rebuild their offensive line? Come on. Puddle of mud at M Resort. Puddle of mud. Why does that sound familiar, Clay? Puddle of mud.
You've been around a while.
I've never seen puddle of mud.
I have the knowledge and expertise to get you back to doing what you love most. My colleagues and I at Crevetti Orthopedics are committed to personal attention, state-of-the-art treatments, and most importantly, successful outcomes. All our patients by living their best lives. CrevettiOrtho.com.
For 60 years, Sippy's has been serving Hawaii's favorite foods. And now you can get a taste of aloha without traveling 2,600 miles across the Pacific Ocean. One of Sippy's favorites is the spaghetti meat sauce and garlic bread, now only $10.99 at the takeout counter. Sippy's meat sauce is thick and hearty, with its signature slightly sweet, savory flavor loved across Hawaii. And the garlic bread is grilled to perfection. Sippy's, home of Hawaii comfort food. Now with 3 locations, Arroyo Crossing, Wallaby Way, and Southeastern in Henderson.
Remy Martin is the official cognac of the JT the Brick Show. When you're celebrating any of your team's victories, celebrate with Remy Martin Cognac, XO, VSOP, and 1738.
How we doing, everybody?
Excellence.
T. Hill is drama. Yeah, he's drama.
Felt like the odd man out at a friend's house watching the game? After years in the sports betting industry, I can teach you the rules of different sporting events so you can now be part of that crowd of cheering fans with an understanding of the game. Plus, I can teach you how to place a bet on a game, which will completely change your perspective because you too can be a winner. Join me at betmoneyhoney.com. That's betmoneyhoney.com.
Plumbers, HVAC techs, contractors, and DIYers. McFadden Industrial.
I just got a text from a buddy in Tahoe. You won't believe this. I just put it on Twitter. Man, it is snowing hard. Look at this. If you can see this. Oh, I can't. No, that's not good.
As the starts to get this time, chances to play the chance. March.
Yeah, anytime after 1. Yeah. Now, like maybe 1:20 or 1. They got a lot of really good young coaches to help out the offense. And I don't know of any Raider fan that doesn't want to improve this offense dramatically. And yeah, you better believe when I tell this story quickly that when we did the preseason games, so I called the games preseason, Jason Horowitz goes to TV and I was doing radio. And one of the first interviews we had the entire preseason was Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly came into the preseason meeting and we talked for about 30 minutes with Chip Kelly and Eric Allen and Rich Gannon were talking to Chip Kelly. And I had a question or two, but I let those guys talk. Oh my God. When Chip Kelly left the room, we were all sitting there going, oh, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts. Can you believe this? What Chip Kelly just told us about Genty and Bowers and what he wants to do? It didn't work. It didn't work, but everyone's intentions were fine. The intentions right now is for Kubiak to be fantastic, and to come in with his playbook that worked and won a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold and give that playbook exactly to Mendoza. Say, hey, Fernando, go watch the Sam Darnold tape for 6 months or 4 months and just watch it. And then we're going to go to the practice field. We're going to run these plays. And we're going to go out there and going to do a great job. It's not hard. Eric Bieniemy is going back to Kansas City. What do you think he's doing? Bringing a new playbook? No, they're going to open up the drawer and run the plays that work with Mahomes. Run the plays that work in Henderson. How long? Someone's got to make me a T-shirt. Run the plays that work in Henderson. Now you got a bunch of really sharp offensive guys who are going to put new plays in. Dino is in Toronto. Good to hear from you again, Dino. What's happening?
What's up, JT? Great show as always, brother. It's been a minute. Really, really happy with this hire. Like I'm hearing from a lot of the Raider Nation. One thing that impressed me the most is how efficient Kubiak has been with hiring pretty much all the position coaches. I think the only one we're waiting for is the O-line, if I'm not mistaken, unless something happens today. JT, you know what I wanted to ask you? How big of a deal is it? I mean, economically, of course, it makes sense, but how big of a selling feature is it for players to come to Vegas knowing there's no state tax? Do they dangle that in front of them? I
think it's huge. I think it's massive. I think it's massive to move to Vegas for no state taxes and the lifestyle and the home you can get compared to New York, LA, New Jersey, Chicago, all of that. I'm a big proponent of coming here, but now players just care about winning. They don't care about that. They don't make so much money in all sports. They just want to go where they want to win. But I think, Dino, it's a big thing to come to a state. I mean, I moved to Vegas to get away from California. I loved California, but with my income and what I was doing and all the jobs I had, I didn't want to give 60% of my worth, 60% of it to California anymore. I was done. And I think people, when they get out of California and they come to Nevada or Texas, or they go to Tennessee or Florida, and you can see the difference there, and especially high-priced players. I think the key to move to Vegas is to get a $3 or $4 million house for $1.2 million. And if you want a $10 million house, you can get one for $5 million. And if you want a $20 million house in California, you can get one here for $10 million. Because California's out of control, but players want to win.
I got you. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Last question. Man, when I saw the press conference and they introduced Coach Kubiak, I saw all the great Raiders. And, my idol growing up was Jim Plunkett because that was my era. That was my year. Those were my teenage years. And, JT, man, are we ever going to see Jim in the Hall of Fame, man? I mean, the guy deserves it, in my opinion. I'm not trying to sound like a homer right now, but Heisman Trophy winner, first pick overall.
Yeah, the Heisman doesn't count. That has no effect. Appreciate the call on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Nothing. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The reason Jim would get in, because he doesn't have the stats to get in. He doesn't. He does not have the stats. You would get Jim Plunkett into the Hall of Fame because of his story and his championships. You have to sell. And we have Paul Gutierrez in the room now, which is great because Paul's a big Jim Plunkett guy. And how about this? The Hispanic Football Hall of Fame introduced the class of 2026. This is the Hispanic Football Hall of Fame. Tom Flores, Ted Hendricks, Jim Plunkett, to go along with Anthony Munoz, Ron Rivera, Steve Van Buren, and Tom Fears. 3 legendary Raiders, Jim Plunkett, Ted Hendricks, and Tom Flores, are the inaugural inductees into the Hispanic Football Hall of Fame. How great is that? Hour number 2 coming up next. We'll dive into the draft on the other side. You don't want to miss it. Almost every day up until the draft at the end of April, we'll be talking NFL draft on Raider Nation Radio. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Let me go hydrate. Hydrate.
Kathy hit big and so can you with Gambler's Bonus. It's why you play the game. From birthdays to
working out.
Really sucks. Terrible boss and the paycheck is even worse. I gotta get a new job.
Truck you.
Wait.
All right, everybody.
You don't have to curse at me.
Dude, you should check out Truck You CDL training. My brother got his CDL license in 4 weeks, and now he has a new career making great money.
Okay, I'm listening.
Truck You offers...
I'm getting a lot of spam lately. I'm getting a lot of spam.
Hey, Josh, this is Clay with JT the
Truck,
Brick.
the letter U, LV.com.
Truck you. Let's get tested for a couple minutes.
Your afternoon Raiders Connects with your boy Q on Unnecessary Roughness from 2 to 5 on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM KRLB Las Vegas.
It's the JT the Brick Show.
You just get up every day and you take one step at a time and you keep going and you show up. We have a big mountain to climb, but we're not trying to do it all in one day.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
It's really important to me that we're a gritty team, that the way that they were back in the old days. It's nothing that we say, it's what we do on the field. All the little things that win that have nothing to do with scheme.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Oh, yes, we're ready to go. Hour number 2 as we continue here, and I'm excited to talk to you. There's a lot happening here. On a national level with the NFL, a little pause. We had the Super Bowl a week ago yesterday, and now we're getting ready for the Combine and the draft coming up, where here in Las Vegas, the Raiders have the number 1 pick. We're assuming it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. Joining me is Josh Edwards, who's fantastic from CBS Sports, a draft insider. And he's kind enough to join us. And Josh, again, being in Vegas, we're assuming it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. Are you on board with that pick, considering what the Raiders have been through with all the coaching firings and all the changes that have happened with Bowers and Genty, that this is the obvious right choice for the silver and black?
Yeah, I wish I had a more fun answer for you, but I think that is where this is headed, simply because I think back to the conversations that Kubiak probably had with ownership and leadership, and he's going through the roster, and he's excited about Ashton Genty, and he's excited about Brock Bowers, but he's like, what's playing at quarterback, And I think there was probably a plan shared that Fernando Mendoza may be that player in those conversations, because he's obviously very excited about the job. He had a lot of prospects. He could have gone elsewhere. But I think to have a player like Mendoza probably gives him confidence going into year 1.
Josh Edwards is our guest. Yeah, it seems to be an obvious pick. And I think anybody who had the first pick overall and needed a quarterback would take him. It doesn't look that it's that deep. With Dante Moore going back, next year's class looks much stronger than this class coming out. And I think the Raiders are going to stand pat and take the pick. But if you're another team like the Jets or Arizona or anybody else out there, what do you think the package would be to go get Mendoza? Because, again, I don't think there is a package that the Raiders would take, but there's always some wild cards out there where someone can throw up 3 first-rounders and a players. What have you heard could possibly be happening if someone did pick up the phone to call John Spytek?
Yeah, without question. I mean, you really don't have to go back any farther than last year when there was one quarterback that everybody was considering at the top of that draft class. Ultimately, Tennessee decided to stay put and take Cam Ward, but they had been fielding calls up to draft night about the possibility of trading him. So I think in a possible return, you're probably talking about 3 first-round picks, which would go a long way for the Raiders trying to rebuild the offensive line. That defense there. So it would be tantalizing to, take a package that includes 3 first-round picks. You can do a lot with it, but you also have to hit on those picks. And if Fernando Mendoza were to go somewhere else and be highly successful, that's going to reflect poorly on you. So I'm sure that's the decision that leadership is weighing at this time.
Josh Edwards is our guest. So as you analyze this draft that's in the end of April, what do you think the strength of the draft is? Because I love asking that question. Some people think wide receiver. Is it O-line? Is it edge rushers? What are you focused on now as you're preparing the mocks and looking ahead? What's the strength of this upcoming draft?
Yeah, and to kind of solidify the point of Mendoza being that possibility at number 1 overall, I don't think this is a class that really has a lot of blue chip talent. In fact, Mendoza would be one of the ones that I feel most confident in projecting to the next level. So without having one of those top-tier pass rushers or a wide receiver to fall back on, I think it makes your decision at number 1 a little bit easier. But looking at the strength in this draft class, I think it's fluctuated for most of the process. I think you're going to see good depth at the cornerback position, good depth at the tight end position, even though we're probably only talking about Oregon's Kenyon Sadiq possibly slipping there into the first round at the tight end position. Wide receivers, as you noted, I think is going to have good depth. I don't know that there's going to be like a true number one wide receiver in this class, but there's going to be a lot of players that could be complementary pieces. They could be, role players dependent upon the varying skill sets that teams may need. In general, I just think this is a good draft class for teams to find a couple of starters and really address the depth, because I think the strength of this class is the depth, and I think you can get quality players into day three.
So that's really important to me. Josh Edwards is our guest from CBS Sports Draft Insider. I've heard enough people say that this isn't an elite draft. So do you think that more teams are going to want to retain their free agency? Earlier today, franchise tag window opens, the salary cap goes up. So typically if you let a player go and feel like you're going to fill that need in the draft, maybe you retain that player because you don't like the draft to have star players up top. But you're also saying that this is a deep draft. So you're saying you could get good players in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, I think it'll depend upon where teams are individually. Some of them will come at it as, we're not ready to compete right now, so let's not over leverage ourselves into the future, by committing all this salary cap space to maybe some veterans on the roster. But at the same time, I think it would be incredibly savvy for teams to retain the players that they identify as building blocks with all this additional cap space, because you don't want to go spend it on somebody that may not move the needle for your organization and then put you in cap trouble here a couple of years down the road. So I would think that teams are looking to re-sign their own players this year and then fill some of those needs through the draft that we're talking about. But I've been very careful to talk about this class as being weak, simply because it was a similar narrative last year that we were talking about this the draft, in that there's not really a lot of those blue chip talents. But you reflect back on the 2025 draft class, there were producers at every position throughout the draft. Carson Schlesinger, Harold Fannin Jr., there were a number of running backs that saw the field. Obviously, we had a couple of quarterbacks with Tyler Shuck and Jackson Dart, even beyond Cam Ward, and some wide receivers. Like, it was actually a very productive draft class, one of the best that we had seen in recent. The narrative going into that draft was, there's not really those blue chip talents that we can really hang our hat on. So even looking at this year's draft class and not seeing too many players that jump out as being those blue chip types, I am going to stop a little bit short of saying it's a weak class or maybe falling short of what we've seen in recent years.
Josh Edwards is our guest from CBS. Edwards CBS is where you follow him on X. I really struggle with the offensive line. Look, if you get a Penei Sewell, if you know you're going to have an elite starter, but offensive linemen who are 21 or 22 can't handle Myles Garrett. We just saw in the Super Bowl the struggle that New England had with a young top pick on the offensive line. What about this O-line here? Because drafting an offensive lineman high means he's got to be able to play and quickly be a stud. And then depth, to me, in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, you're developing players and hoping that they're going to make it. Where do you stand on the offensive line coming into this one?
Historically speaking, we see that the offensive tackles, the truly elite ones, the all-pros, they have to be taken in the first round.
Right.
That's where teams are finding those players. Same with the edge rushers. But looking at this class specifically, I don't see, just a clear, obvious top left tackle, top right tackle option in this draft class. In fact, we would typically mock Francis Maui-Noah from Miami and Spencer Fano from Utah as those top 2 offensive tackles in this class. But if it were a couple of years down the road and you told me that Monroe Freeling, the left tackle from Georgia, or Caleb Lomu, the left tackle from Utah, were the best offensive tackle to come out of this draft class, I would not be surprised. So if you're sitting there with a top 10 pick and you're needing one of those players that can be a true building block for your offensive line, I don't know that you're going to walk away without, having a little bit of hesitancy about what that player can do, because some people believe that Fano and Maui Noah could actually move inside at the next level. So I don't see one of those lockdown left tackle of the future types in this draft class. But I do think, not to beat a dead horse, that there is good depth in this class, specifically at the center position. I think you can find a really smart, savvy player on day 2 or day 3 in this draft class, and there's some really intriguing offensive tackle and guard types in this class as well.
Good to know. Wrapping it up with Josh Edwards. It looks like Ohio State's got 4 to 5 first rounders. I'm talking from edge rushers to safeties to offensive players overall. Does Ohio State have the strongest class? Miami looked like they had some studs in the national championship game. I don't know how many NFL prospects are coming out of Indiana outside Mendoza, but that offensive line looked pretty good. Give me a couple of schools that you think are really going to hit it big in those first couple of rounds.
Yeah, I think you touched on it there, specifically off the top with Ohio State. Just going through a mock draft that I did on Monday, on CBS Sports HQ, the host, Chris Hassel, kept saying, well, there's another Ohio State Buckeye. There's another Ohio State Buckeye. So I think I ended up with 5 or 6 there in the first round. So that's going to be the team that has the most blue chip types in this class. But when you're talking about Miami and you're talking about Indiana, I think it's the depth that they had on their rosters. I mean, both of those teams are going to have more than a handful of picks throughout the course of this draft. And it may not happen on day 1 the way that we will see with Ohio State, but they're going to be represented really well on those 3 nights of the NFL draft. Georgia's going to be up there. Michigan, it's the same schools that we typically see every year.
Hey, Josh, finally, I know you specialize also in the draft, but you know the league. Are you excited about this free agency class overall? I mean, there's not a lot of quarterbacks. Kyler Murray available in the trade, or some of the names that are out there, Kirk Cousins. But it seems like if you don't have your quarterback now, you better wait till next year's draft where there could be 4 first-rounders. But free agency overall, is this very similar to the draft where it's not going to be a great free agent class? So a lot of teams are just going to stand pat and wait till next year?
I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
It kind of lacks the top names that we would be accustomed to hearing. And I know Miami has released a couple of big names here in recent days, but I think this is a draft where, again, teams are going to look to re-sign their own with a wealth of salary cap space. And then really what's interesting to me is what you kind of alluded to, which is the possible availability of a player like Kyler Murray or Tua Tagovailoa. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to trade him maybe in the way that they want to, but if he hits the open market, there's going to be teams that are interested in him because not every team is going to be able to adequately fill the starting quarterback position. And then, of course, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh? I think those are the 2 options on the table for him. Is he going to return to Pittsburgh for 2026, or have we seen him for the last time? I tend to think that we'll probably see him back with Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh, but that's going to be another one of those storylines worth monitoring. So, yeah, free agency doesn't have a lot of the big names, but I think we can kind of make up for it a little bit with some of the trade talk, A.J. Brown possibly being out there, and some of the others.
All right. Thanks so much, Josh. I hope to talk to you leading up to the draft and when you're in Pittsburgh. Thanks for the time.
Yep, anytime.
All right. Josh Edwards checking in from CBS. Pro Football Talk just put out Rick Dennison will follow Clint Kubiak to the Raiders. Dennison served as Seattle's run game coordinator and senior offensive advisor in 2025. He has a long history with the Kubiak family. Dennison played for Gary Kubiak, Clint's father, in Denver, coached with him with the Broncos, Ravens, Texans, and Vikings, and worked with Clint Kubiak in Denver, Minnesota, New Orleans, and Seattle. Dennison, who began his coaching career in 1995, was an offensive coordinator with the Bills, Broncos, and Texans. That's another guy who's been coaching for a long time at a high level who will be in the room. Who'll be in the room with Clint Kubiak. I love this topic. I really do. I think add as many players as you can, do what you got to do, and get more eyeballs in that coaching room on the offensive side, because that's where the Raiders have really struggled. Scott in San Carlos. Thanks for waiting, Scott. You're up next. Go ahead.
Hey, JT. Great show as always.
Thank you.
I just want to add my voice. Really like higher. And I think in my mind with Gruden, that's the last time I felt offensive line in the what I really picture.
The only when I watched it looked like Clinton got a offensive coach that actually matches a lot of the personnel we already have.
Yeah.
Like a lot of 13, a lot of people learning, pretty good screening, and I think Michael Mayer and Black. Like, the thing I wasn't at that, they can find out. I totally agree. The thing from the writing saying that and you and I have talked about this many times, but his history in New Orleans, thinking that
Yeah, I'm happy what you said about Tom Brady, because ideally Tom Brady has said that, right? He's been on record a number of times about letting a quarterback sit and develop. That's what he did. But he was a 6th-round pick. He was the number 1 overall. So it changes when you're the number 1 pick overall. You want to get him out there and get him playing. He's going to be your quarterback. As soon as he plays, let him play. So that's what I think will happen. Could that change with Clint Kubiak when he's watching and they're prepping Fernando Mendoza in training camp and say, he's good and we like him a lot and we're comfortable with him as our number 1 pick overall, but we want to get someone in front of him to play a little bit? I'm not going to lose my mind over that. If it's Mendoza, which I think it'll be, it is a long-term pick. He's got to be great. You don't get Mendoza. People compare him to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Matt Ryan's won an MVP. He won an NFC championship game. Should have won a Super Bowl. He was up 28-3. His top 10s in yards and touchdowns. Matt Ryan is going to go to the Hall of Fame. If Fernando Mendoza has a career like Matt Ryan, the Raiders will win a lot of games. But I'm hoping it's even better than Matt Ryan. I really do. 6'5", 235, 240. A player of that size and strength, it's got to be good. Raiders got to nail everything. I say that every year. I'm not looking to trick you. I say every time they hire a coach, I want the coach to win. I say every year they go into free agency, get the best players. I say every year when they go into the draft, trade up, get back into the first round. Every season when it starts off, I say play faster, play faster. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm very optimistic about the way they're building this staff because they waited for the coach they wanted. They didn't panic. They didn't get tripped up. They didn't do anything that was weird. They knew who they had. Now, if they would have got screwed, that would have been an interesting topic, Clay, if we were sitting here today going, man, Kubiak declined after he thought he might have wanted it. He stayed in Seattle for a $4 million raise. And then the next coach is Mike McCoy, or the next coach would have been whoever. I thought the best option would have been Sean McDermott if anybody turned it down, right? It's a big name. Mike Tomlin, you would have had a trade for, but I think we all agree the Raiders got the guy they wanted.
And they didn't have to settle for anything that wasn't quite what they wanted. There was other names that could have been in the fire. I think everything would have been pale in comparison to like, the one guy you felt like was a sure thing. I'm glad they didn't get upended at the very end.
Yes, I'm happy everything worked out as it should have worked out. I'm happy that it worked out this way. I've been telling you about Click Hospitality. So last week, Thursday night, a really good opportunity for people to go out to Durango. So we sent a couple of our friends to Durango. They got a table. They had unbelievable food. They had a great view of the games. They had a great view of the pool. They just loved the energy when they walked in. So much so that I set up 2 buddies. I called the head. I said, they're my guests. They're coming in. And they called me back and said, wow, I had no idea. I've been sending people to Gatsby's. We talk about some of the other lounges from Click Hospitality. I had my birthday party at Click right when you walk into Cosmopolitan. Beautiful lounge. But when it comes to Durango, Bel Air is the place to go. So if you like ladies' night, you like Thursday night, you like great energy, good music, and a great crowd, I would recommend you go to Durango and walk into the front lobby, make a left, and go to Bel Air. And when it gets cranking in the summertime, when the pool's open and you're outside in the lounge looking at the pool and the fountains and all that, you'll thank me for it. Click Hospitality, proud partner of our show, with all of their great lounges here in town and their hospitality and what they do. They're a big part of what we're doing going forward. We thank them for being partners on Raider Nation Radio. That's it for the Bricklayers. For those who watch YouTube, I'm going to take it the rest of the way. If you want to listen, just jump online to the Raiders mobile app. or Raider Nation Radio. Alex Eshelman will join us at some point in the next 10 or 15 minutes. When we come back, I'm going to come after the Mets owner really aggressively. Tell you the stupid things he said about a captaincy. I love captains in sports. I mean, I'm really into who's the captain of the team. The owner of the Mets doesn't believe that. I think he's really stupid for what he said. I'll get into that next on the flagship.
It's the morning tailgate.
The quarterback is. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Mad Dog Sports Radio tonight, 8 to 11 p.m. If you got the Sirius XM, it's channel 82. So we'll be back. Appreciate everybody. Thank you. Good show today. Good to be back.
Even last. Like how long